a floor that has like neat dimension to it. So the first thing you do is bring your, like I drew this wall with bricks on it. So what I would do, and this is the goal, to get a floor that looks like that. And then when you move the camera, the floor, it's like those video games from the 16-bit era on the Genesis and the Super NES. When the floor moves, I'll show you right now what the goal of this video is. When the floor moves, look at the floor itself. You can see it's in perspective. And that was a really neat thing that they had to really engineer for the 16-bit era, because a lot of those programs didn't have, like the Genesis didn't have scrolling, or not scrolling, the scaling. It didn't have scaling, so you couldn't do stuff like that with the sprites. Alright, so let me just show how this works. I'll duplicate this with the duplicate button here, and that'll create another brick wall. Next thing I'll do is go into this button here, which is called the, well, once it clicks on it, the rotate layer. So with that button selected, I'm going to pull up on the floor, and then you get that neat effect. So then I'll move it down here and then adjust it from there. You could have it any angle you want, but I'm just going to pull it up a little bit more. If you turn it too much left or right, then you get a weird effect with it. So I'll just continue to pull that within the view of the camera here. See, that's a little too much of an angle there, so I'll just push it down a little and maybe move it like right there. And the sides are a little too short, so I'm just going to extend that out a little so it reaches the edge of the wall there. And then for the sides here, you could do the same thing, but I'll do the ceiling first. So let me pull this piece up here now that I duplicated it, and just put that right, well, I guess I could have it right there, like a small room. And then I have to adjust the scale of this first brick, so I can just go reduce the size a little, just so I have a sharper image of the room. So let's see, probably widen the length a little, maybe right about there, and just to make sure I overlap the room, I'll just have it underneath there. Alright, so the sides are the only thing left, and I'll duplicate that and pull this here, and now I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, so I'll just put 90 in there, and then with the rotate tool I'll just do this again, scale it like that, and now I could reduce the scale of the wall. It's too long there, maybe right about there is good, and then just push that to the edge right about there. So then now that I have that, I'll just duplicate it, pull it to the other side just like that, and look how it's in perspective already, although this one's a little bit off, so I'll just angle it a little bit more to, okay, so if you push up or down, that's what will rotate this, but if you go left or right here, this will rotate it this way, only because I have it at a different angle, otherwise it's reverse for the default. Alright, so there's that, and let me pull that in a little more, right about there is good. So now when I move the camera, you get that neat effect But the only thing that's not tracking with it actually looks like the ceiling could be a little better. Yeah, I never actually tried it with a room before. For the ceiling, I'll rotate it a little bit more. Wow, it's on the wrong layer. How did I get to that layer? So I'll just go like that. And then I'll move it down a little bit more, just to get more of an effect. It's interesting because it's not necessarily right. I'd have to see what this looked like from the actual perspective. And I think there's a way you could work with geometry, but I never actually tried it. In other words, create a cube and then go from there. So this first layer, you can see it's moving weird. So what I want to do is go on select and then minus, let's say -1, and that shrinks it, but it's not actually shrinking it, it's pushing it further back. So let's see how that affects things. Yeah, see, now it's tracking with the rest of it. So you get that really cool effect. So when the character moves across the room, just like the old 16-bit fighting games, you get that really cool scrolling parallax effect of the floor and the walls. And then of course you would bring in your character. Let's say you go to, just gotta find my characters here. There they are. So let's say I bring in this guy, Lurk, which is a parody of Dirk the Daring from Dragon's Lair, and then just bring him, let's say right about here, and reduce the scale. See, this is frame 0. That never looks like that on frame 1. Frame 1 looks like that. So I'll just move them down there. And this is just a test. I'm not actually going to do anything with this yet. It's just preparing it. But I'll just press save. And to do a quick animation, I would just go under Window, Actions, and then let's say I want him to walk. Well, actually, I didn't show his sword attack. Let me do that. Well, no, I better do a walk because I want to show the effect of him crossing the room. So I'll just go like that, and I'll just copy these keyframes since they're the walk cycle, and do that, there, maybe 5 seconds. That's good. So now that he's got his walk, here's how to time his walk. So as long as you're on this item here, click on the move button. So let's say he's right here. Let's see how the camera pans with his movement. I mean his position. So that's a little fast. I'll move him up a little bit more. Let's see how this piece moves with this, with the camera. It should be aligned. Yeah, that looks better. I don't have a lot of room to move, so I have to be pretty close to where he should be in the plane. If you want him closer, then you have to adjust his Z-axis right here and fine-tune it till you get where you want it. But I want him at that scale, so what I'll do is just press save, and now that I have him animated, I want to time his walk. So I'm going to show what happens here. Let's say I got 120 frames. So that's 120 frames, and this edge here, I don't have to worry about those frames. They're cut off. Alright, so I want him to walk across the room in 5 seconds. Alright, so he starts here, and now he's going to go over here. So, oh, okay, I actually pulled him to the wrong side. So let's say he ends there. And let's say he starts here. Alright, so normally if you just did it like that, he starts off slow and looks like he's almost like sliding. But then his walk finally kicks in, and then you can see he's connecting with the floor. But it still looks a little slippery with his walk. So one way to resolve that is to go here and click on both these move keyframes, right click and go to linear, and that prevents any slow curve smooth motion. It's called a smooth curve. So he starts off in his movement right away, but you have to watch the foot, and right now he's sliding. He's going too slow for his movement. In other words, his distance traveled. So that means if he ends here, he actually has to start outside the room. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So let's say he starts there. Now watch his shoes. They have to connect. Let's see. So his heel hits there at that point, and then it kicks off there. Yeah, the walk's a little weird. I'm surprised. Okay, he's sliding now. It's too fast. So I'll pull him in a little bit closer. And now, alright, his heel hits there. It should stay there. See, it kicks out a little fast there. And then, alright, that's close to what I'm going for there. His heel mostly stays where it should be. He's got like a jump in his walk. It just like jolts forward. But those shoes are so big, that's part of the challenge. But that's it. That's your animation for the walk. And that's good to do that first before you adjust the camera. So now I'll adjust the camera. So let's say I start at this angle here. So he starts there, and by here I want to follow the camera with him a little bit until I can't go any further. So it ends there. So one way to smooth that out is to go into your thing and just go to linear again in the time frame. So now you see that awesome scrolling parallax effect you get there. It's a really neat effect. But this is what it would look like rendered out. Just a few seconds, it'll maybe 30 seconds it'll render out. I'm looking at those bricks and they look pretty rough, really blurry. I did it really quick just to get an idea, but I think they need a lot of work. They could be a lot sharper. But there it is. That's one frame, and when you render it out, you get that really cool effect, which I'll show at the end of this video. But that's about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section.